Alrighty, guys, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back here to another live stream, my friends. Hope everyone is doing good. Glad to have you guys here for another update, my friends. So I decided I'm just going to do a live stream instead of a video. That way I can interact with you guys a little bit more, because I think that that's really important for events like this, is that, you know, we interact with you guys as much as possible. I feel like I can be a little bit more one-on-one with you guys during live streams. So with that being said, what's up, everybody? Hope everyone's doing good. Like I said, it's good to have you guys here for another update. Let's see who we got here today. We got Paxton, we have Oversteer, we have Tabletop, we have Chris. Let's see, we have Jazz, Alt, Oversteer. Let's see here, K-Dog, WWT, Ponderosa, Samuel. Of course, everybody else who is here, but just not chatting as well. It's good to see you guys. Hope everyone's doing good. So, alrighty, guys, we got ourselves a lot to talk about today. I always seem to say that, but you know what? It's been pretty crazy lately. SPC has gone full-blown, just risk outlook after outlook. So we do have, obviously, this event starting really on Friday. This is Friday's risk here. Let's go ahead and overlay some cities here for you guys, and we'll talk about who's in the risk here to start. So here is Friday's risk here. So obviously we have that big 30% chance probability area here for severe weather, which, you know, like I mentioned, the 30% chance is a pretty good probability for severe weather. As of now, it's the maximum risk that they can issue. Tomorrow, though, that'll go into day 3. So that means that we're going to be able to kind of see if it's going to be, you know, enhanced or greater or anything like that. But anyways, so 30% chance here for Friday. The main areas here for Friday that's going to be heavily impacted is going to be throughout portions of Illinois, Missouri, Western Kentucky, Western Tennessee, Northwestern Mississippi. A lot of like central and eastern Arkansas is in the main risk. This is like the bullseye here. This is where the greatest probability for severe weather is going to be on Friday. And you can actually see here we do have, you know, also a pretty big 15% risk. I mean, the risk now, guys, look at this. Friday, the risk for severe weather goes all the way up into Minnesota now. Minnesota, southeast Minnesota is now included in that 15% risk out there for severe weather, which is a little crazy. That's a little crazy. Let's see. What's up, Renita? Hope you're doing good. Tabletop, any thoughts for Sunday? Okay, we'll get to that here in a second, Tabletop. Yeah, so like I said, right now, this is for Friday. This is Friday's risk here. We definitely need to be looking out there for Friday. You know, Friday is going to be one of the nasty days here. Okay, so then we work our way into Saturday. So if we take a look at Saturday, we have the continuation of that 30% that does work its way down in towards Mississippi, Alabama. You can see that a lot of the state of Alabama here is in that 30% chance probability for severe weather. Also for like the western, northern side here of Georgia, as well as like southeastern Tennessee. You know, that's where the greatest risk here for Saturday is going to be. And like I mentioned, it's a pretty decent probability for severe weather, you know, in a 30%. And of course, we have that 15% going all the way up through the Ohio Valley, even into like western Pennsylvania. You know, a lot of Ohio is going to be in the risk here for Saturday regarding that threat for severe weather. And believe it or not, actually for Sunday as well, we now have a risk here for Sunday, all the way from basically the eastern panhandle towards the Big Bend region here of Florida, cutting through Georgia, the Carolinas, through Virginia, and going through like the mid-Atlantic up here until like we reach New Jersey, Pennsylvania. So there's a lot of people that's going to be in the risk here regardless. Let's see. What's up, Michael? Saying hello from Northwest Ohio. Hope you're doing good, my friend. Hope you are doing good. Yeah, there's a lot of people from Ohio. Definitely. Definitely. So, yeah, they did actually add Ohio into the risk now. You guys are going to be in the risk here for Saturday. So that's going to be the second day of severe weather with this system here. So yeah, you know, obviously you can tell we do have, you know, the 3 major cities in Ohio in the risk here: Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. All 3 of those cities there are in that risk here for Saturday. So right now it's a 15% chance probability, which, remember, that's still a decent shot for potential severe weather, and it's still definitely something you guys need to look out for. But, you know, whenever it comes to, like, the greatest risk here for severe weather activity, that's going to be more to the south on Saturday. And here for Saturday, you can see, like I said, a lot of Alabama's in that 30%. Same thing for a lot of Mississippi, Georgia, and like portions of Tennessee here as well. Let's see here. Is it going to reach New Orleans? Yeah. So you can see New Orleans is in the 15% chance probability zone. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of people that's in this risk here. There's a lot of people. You know, between Friday and Sunday, there's a pretty good amount of people that's going to be in these risk areas here. So we'll make sure to keep you guys updated with everything. Oversteer says, hello from northeastern Arkansas. What's up, my friend? So, guys, we're also going to get into zip codes here in a little bit. Not right now. Obviously, you know, I kind of want to go over everything first, and then we'll go into models and stuff. But then we'll definitely do some zip codes because, obviously, I want you guys to be weather aware, and I want you guys to, know if you're in the risk or not. You know, that's very important. To know if you guys do need to prepare or not for severe weather. I mean, like I mentioned, though, there's a lot of places that does need to be weather aware out there. So, and once again, this is Friday's risk here. Then we go into Saturday's risk here. Once again, those 30% chance areas. These are the bullseye areas as of right now, kind of where the heaviest of the severe weather potential is going to be. And then, of course, we go into Sunday. Once again, we do have a risk now for Sunday across the southeastern U.S., riding up the eastern coast from Florida all the way up towards Pennsylvania. So that is what we need to look out there for. Let's see here. Jess says, I'm curious, how does Michigan manage to stay out of this so far? Honestly, well, let's actually dive into models and we'll look at that here. I honestly think a lot of it is a lack of moisture. There's not going to be as much moisture up north, as there will be towards like areas in the deep south and like the Midwest. A lot of you folks up there are going to be kind of lacking that moisture. Now, there still is going to be, obviously storm potential in some of those areas nearby. Looking at our dew points here, typically for severe weather, you really want those dew points in the 60s and 70s. 50s will work, of course, in some cases here, but you can see that the moisture up for areas like Michigan is pretty low. I mean, dew points are in the lower 50s, which, I think that's a lot of what's going to cause a bit of lacking for some of those areas out there. But, towards the deep south, obviously you can see, we do have a pretty good amount of rich moisture available for these storms. So that will be in place here, and this is the GFS model, by the way, guys. This is for late Friday. I mean, you can see that we are going to get a pretty good amount of moisture, with this storm system, especially in the south here, and of course, as that cold front moves eastward, a lot of that moisture will also creep its way up here into the Mid-Atlantic region and the coastal southeastern U.S. So moisture, honestly, for those regions, I think is the main lacking, to be quite honest with you. Let's see here. How serious as a general statement? Wait, hold on. Otto says, how serious as a general statement is all of this so far? It's very serious. It's very serious. If I was to give this on a scale of 1 to 10, this is about an 8, a 7 or an 8. It's pretty serious. Especially given the fact that, SPC has more than one day with that 30% chance. Obviously we have that 30% chance probability. This is the maximum risk they can issue as of now, because it's in the extended range. It's getting ready to come into the general range. Tomorrow, Friday, will be considered day 3, which at that point, that's when things change a little bit. So, also, I will mention real quickly, today we don't have any severe weather. Tomorrow, though, they actually upgraded that little risk here to a slight risk here. We were talking about this yesterday on the video. So they actually included a bit, portions of northeastern Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, like western Arkansas. Yeah, some of you folks are actually going to be in the risk here for severe weather tomorrow. Tornadoes will be possible, although it's a relatively low threat tomorrow. Yeah, remember though, tomorrow's not the big day. There's going to be the potential for, an isolated tornado or two. Across those green shaded areas here, it can't be ruled out. Damaging winds will actually kind of be one of the main concerns here, one of the main concerns here. Also, hail being the secondary concern. So hail will be ranging between maybe 1 and 2 inches in diameter tomorrow, while damaging wind gusts tomorrow could be, upwards of 60, maybe 65 miles per hour in terms of wind gusts. With a 15% chance across the yellow of it occurring within a 25-mile radius of your location. And, of course, the 5% chance across the brown here. So, tomorrow we do have a little bit of severe weather. I just want to go ahead and point that out real quickly. Then we work our way over here into, let's see here. So this would be, today's Tuesday, tomorrow's, okay, Wednesday. So this would be Thursday. Thursday here, we do have a little marginal here too. Once again, this is pretty low in concern, but just mentioning it, it should be mentioned. Here we could see a little bit of severe weather across Alabama. But anyways, but yeah, like I mentioned, yeah, this is pretty concerning. Considering how large and how many people are involved potentially with this storm system here. Once again, we got that big 30% here for Friday. The greatest probability for severe weather on Friday is going to be for portions like eastern Missouri, central southern Illinois, western Kentucky, western Tennessee, like northwestern Mississippi, and a lot of central eastern Arkansas. That's where we have that 30% chance overall probability. That once again, that's the maximum risk taken issue for now. And then, of course, we have ourselves, that 15% chance that really extends out. I mean, all the way as far south as, central Louisiana, all the way up even into southeastern Minnesota for Friday is going to be in that risk area here. And as far east as central Kentucky and as far west as pretty much, a little sliver of southeastern Oklahoma, barely even included in that, to be honest. But, it goes out towards those regions there. And then once again, for Saturday, like we mentioned, so then the severe weather, as that cold front rolls eastward, the severe weather moves along with it. And as we approach our way into Saturday here, we do have, once again, another 30% chance for severe weather. Once again, it's the maximum risk taken issue for now. The greatest probability for severe weather on Saturday is going to be across Mississippi, Alabama, a little bit of the Panhandle of Florida, Georgia, and like southeastern Tennessee. That's where the greatest concern is, with the general threat for severe weather going all the way from the Gulf Coast up even into the Great Lakes region here. Up there in Ohio, Pennsylvania is even in the risk. I mean, so you can see there's quite a bit of people that's impacted here, potentially with all this storm activity. So we'll need to look out for that. And then, of course, once again, Sunday, they did add a new risk area here. This is some new development here. All the way across the Big Bend region here, Florida, cutting up through the eastern coast, through Georgia, central eastern Georgia, most of South Carolina, most of North Carolina, a lot of Virginia, pretty much all of Maryland, Delaware, portion of Pennsylvania, and New Jersey here for Sunday. Will be in that risk here. Anyways, let's see. Let me get to some of these comments here for you guys. I'm here for you guys. Like I said, we're going to make sure that you guys are staying updated here too. Let's see. Ian says I'm in Columbus. So yeah, Columbus is in the risk here for Saturday. Saturday is going to be the risk day for areas out in Ohio, including the Columbus area. Could be involved in maybe some severe weather activity. We'll have to see. But you're in the risk area. I would definitely keep an eye on it. Let's see here. Overseer says, could this go moderate? If so, where at? I mean, obviously, yes, it does have potential to go moderate. Obviously, that's kind of up to SPC. What they decide that they want to do or not. I'm not from the Storm Prediction Center, so I can't really tell you. And it also depends on how models continue to hold up and how they continue to trend, and if there's any changes, either stronger or weaker in the storm system, that will determine the outlook and whatnot. But, I mean, I do think it's quite possible, yes. And, overall, generally speaking, I feel like the greatest probability, if that did occur, this is in my opinion, take this how you want. In my opinion, I think towards the Midwest. I think you guys will probably be kind of in the greatest potential. That's where you have the strongest wind shear. That's where you have, kind of the best ratio between your instability, your wind shear, and whatever moisture we have still available. I think the Midwest comes down to that's where I believe some of the strongest activity will be. And but like I mentioned, that's totally up to the Storm Prediction Center, and whatever they decide to do is what's up to them basically. And we'll relay it though. Obviously if we whenever they do issue those outlooks, we'll relay it like we are now. The information that they're giving us, I'll give it to you guys. That way you guys can also kind of see this as well. Let's see here. Red Cyclonic says, is there any severe weather heading my way? I'm in Northeast Ohio area. So, yes. So, yes, there is a risk here for Saturday, like we mentioned here. Saturday, a lot of Ohio is in that 15% risk area, which, even if you're in the yellow, it still is an area that you do need to watch out for potential severe weather. You know, 15% chance, that's equivalent to a slight risk already. That's already equivalent to a level 2 severe weather threat on a scale to 5, you know, with that 15% chance probability. So, you know, you can see there the risk area is pretty big. You know, there's a lot of people that's going to be involved in this storm here, in which, you know, obviously a lot of you guys really need to keep an eye on this storm here. I mean, it's definitely something we really need to watch closely. Let's see here. Tom says, thanks, Andrew. I appreciate it, but no problem, man. You're very welcome. Let's see here. Let me keep up with you guys. Obviously, if I accidentally go over your comment, don't take that personally. Like I said, I'm just trying to keep up with as many people as I can. Let's see here. K-Dog says, hey, NWW, do I think that the tornado risk, or what do I think about the tornado risk in southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois? So, looking at the models again, which we're going to hop back to real quick. So, for those areas, you know, moisture is lacking quite a bit. You know, dew points here are going to be in the lower 50s, which, you know, like I mentioned, I mean, it can work, yes. But, you know, usually for severe weather and stuff, you know, you really want those dew points, you know, in the 60s and 70s and whatnot. So dew points are a little low for this here. The thing is, though, is that, you know, looking at the lower level winds, though, you know, looking at that jet stream in the lower atmosphere, I mean, those areas out there, you know, even in that region towards the Midwest and whatnot, I mean, we're going to have a very strong lower level jet stream, which, you know, the lower level winds are going to be really moving, which is a big thing, you know, for tornadic activity. You know, obviously lower level winds are very important, you know, for you know, tornadic development and whatnot. Obviously, there is going to be, you know, enough instability up there for storm potential. Let's go ahead and grab a sounding here. Some of that's capped out from GFS, but let's just grab a sounding here just to kind of see the general environment here. I'm not expecting you guys to know how to read these. These are very complex, so I'm not expecting you guys really to know how to read that. So, you know, our dew point depression, basically, you know, the difference between the temperature and the dew point temperature is pretty wide, so that's indicating lower amounts of moisture in the lower atmosphere, which, you know, that could definitely impact tornadic development, possibly, you know, some elevated storms and whatnot up there. But to be honest, I think the greatest concern for that tornadic activity would be a little bit further south. I think a lot of those areas up north could really, you know, still be in the concern for damaging wind gusts and whatnot. You know, just still considering how strong our lower level winds are. And, you know, the fact that we still do have, you know, some instability available for those storms to develop. I think a lot of that tornadic activity will be a little bit lower than areas like Wisconsin. You know, once again, it's up to SPC. You know, whatever they decide to put, that's, you know, obviously what you should go off of whenever it does get to that point. But I still want you to know that things can still change, you know, even at this point in time. Yes, we are getting closer to the event, and obviously, you know, SPC has been issuing a lot of these risk areas and whatnot, in which, you know, obviously we should take seriously. You know, we really need to, and I need you guys to start preparing, you know, just to make sure you are ready for severe weather. You know, bring out your weather radios if you haven't already, you know, everything like that. Just make sure that you guys are ready to handle severe weather potential. And, you know, like I said, we'll keep you guys updated, and I'll let you guys know what's going on here. On today, we're going to do another live stream tonight, because at that point we'll have new outlooks, we'll have new models and stuff like that as well. So we'll definitely be live again tonight. Anyways, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down a little bit. Let's see here. Kayla says, hey, Andrew, I was wondering, what are my thoughts on Indiana? I live in Shelbyville, Indiana. I was curious as to what I think. So Indiana, obviously, we do have a risk here between Friday going into Saturday. You know, it depends on timing. You know, some of that severe weather will likely occur, you know, in the night hours, unfortunately. There will likely be some tornadic, sorry, not just tornadic, but, you know, severe weather activity in general, you know, possibly at nighttime with some of these, you know, with this event, I should say. Now, obviously for Friday, yeah, a lot of Indiana is in the risk here. And you said you're out by, what, Shelbyville, you said? So let me go ahead and bring up Shelbyville real quickly. Let's just go ahead and pull this up. But yeah, I mean, I know a lot of you folks out there are in that, let's see here, Shelbyville, Indiana. Here we go. Yeah, so for Friday, you're right on the edge of that 15% risk area here regarding severe weather potential. So between Friday going into Saturday, that's going to be where your risk is going to be. You can see the continuation of that severe weather risk here, from Friday going into Saturday. So, yeah, definitely I would keep an eye on it, Kayla. I would definitely continue to monitor the weather and, just stay tuned. We'll keep you updated with everything. You're definitely in a region that we should definitely be monitoring here, of course. Let's see here. Red Cyclonic says, thank you, Andrew. No problem, man. Anytime. Of course. Hayden says, I'm in West Georgia. Should I be worried? I wouldn't be worried. I understand it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. I completely get it. I used to be totally scared of, severe weather growing up and everything. So, I get where a lot of that is at. Like I mentioned, that's what is going on. That was weird. My program's being a little... That was pretty weird. Y'all see that? Anyways, so, if you are in Western Georgia, yes, definitely need you guys to be weather aware. Definitely need to be keeping an eye on the weather. A lot of Western Georgia is in that 30% chance probability for severe weather. Saturday is going to be your day. So Saturday, just make sure that you are